Well, good morning. Welcome to our very first ever live webinar for rural clients and contacts. We hope you find the session informative and you have an opportunity to ask any burning questions you may have, either on the support available or any other tax related issues. The session's broken into two halves. The first will take a quick look at the government support available, and then the second will be the question and answer session. But to kick off, we'll introduce ourselves as speakers, and if each speaker could introduce themselves and also what was on their breakfast plate or bowl this morning. So I'd like to introduce Andrew first.
Hello, good morning everybody. Nice to be here today. Just this morning, my special breakfast was a nice big bowl of Special K with loads of milk on it. So that's what I had this morning.
Good to hear, Andrew. I'll introduce Richard. Bring him to the screen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Richard Barnett, farming partner here at Howard Worth. My breakfast was, like Andrew, some cereals topped up with some wonderful British or Cheshire milk.
Very good. Good to hear you supporting local there, Richard. I'll also introduce Dawn.
Morning everybody. So I've got my trusty cup of tea here, and then I think what I'm going to have for breakfast is some boiled eggs, because the milkman has delivered some for me this morning, so I think that's what I'm going to enjoy when we've finished here. So I'm Dawn, I work in the marketing team, and my role today is behind the scenes, just to make sure that all the questions that you submit, that Mike will go through shortly how to do that, that they all get answered and raised at the end. So I'll catch up with you then.
Great, thanks Dawn. Good morning everybody, I'm Mike Atkin. Obviously I'm one of the farming managers in the at Howard Worth. I'm going to be leading the talk this morning. Hopefully you find it interesting, and for breakfast this morning I had my Weetabix to make sure I'm strong enough to get through the day. So for any questions you may have at the end of the session, if you're viewing via a laptop, you'll have a live event Q&A on the right hand side of your screen, or if you're watching on a mobile device, there'll be a little speech bubble with a question, or two speech bubbles with a question mark at the top of your screen. When you actually click on that, a little window will pop up, but it would be handy if you click on the purple button to ask a question. And what would be helpful is if you include your name as you ask your question, just so that Dawn knows who the questions come from when we go through them a little bit later. You can obviously do this during the slides, but it might actually be best if you leave your questions until the very end. So we'll take a quick look at the overview of the support available over the next few slides. We'll take a look at the Self-Employed Income Support Scheme, the Dairy Hardship Grant, and a few of the loans available from the government. We'll also just talk about support for directors, or the lack of support for directors. And then two other areas we'll look at are scenario planning, tools available to us, and we'll also touch on a little bit on research and development. So the Self-Employed Income Support Scheme. This is a lump sum payment taxable grant for sole traders and partners of up to 80% of your average monthly trading profits, up to £2,500 a month. And you'll get that in a lump sum payment of 3 months. You must have traded and submitted a 2019 tax return by the 23rd of April this year, and intend to continue to trade in 2021. The key thing to be able to apply for any of these grants is your trade needs to be adversely affected by coronavirus. Now, I've spoken to quite a few clients that have been affected by this, and in most partnerships with, say, 4 partners, you could actually be looking at a lump sum payment of £30,000 if you assumed you were able to claim the full amount. Now, across our practice, we've seen clients who have lost all of their income apply for this grant, but also some of our farming clients, where, for instance, their diversified income, such as holiday lets, has been hit. Similarly, dairy farmers who've had their income reduced due to volume reductions and price cuts as processors decide to buy milk at the spot price. How do you apply for the self-employed scheme? The quickest way to do this is online via the government gateway, and to do this you'll need a government gateway personal tax account, which you might not actually have at the moment, but it's relatively easy to apply for, and you just need some additional information, ID documents, such as your driving license and passport. And to actually apply for the grant you'll need your unique taxpayer reference and your national insurance number, and hopefully you will have this on some correspondence from HMRC, such as a notice to complete a tax return or any other statements that you may receive from HMRC. If you're struggling to find that information, you can give us a call at Howard Worth and we'll be able to provide that hopefully to you. For those that are digitally excluded, hopefully nobody listening in this morning, there will be paper forms. Now, the official guidance doesn't actually explain in detail how you get hold of these forms, apart from actually giving HMRC a call on the special coronavirus support number. But the key thing here is actually we can't make the application for you. Each individual who wishes to apply for the grant must do so individually via their personal tax account. I saw a post last night via LinkedIn and actually advising tax agents who were trying to do applications for their clients. It was actually increasing the length of time it's taken to make a grant due to some fraud checks. So really the advice to us as agents is to tell taxpayers and individuals to make the application themselves. Now, when you apply for the grant, it will take you through the eligibility checker before you actually apply, and in some cases you might be shown as ineligible. We can ask HMRC to review your case, however this will inevitably delay the length of the process, unfortunately. Now, the one client I did it for earlier this week, it says that they should hopefully hear the answer to their review by the end of this month. Now, once the successful application is received, you should receive the lump sum payment within a few days, or certainly within 2 weeks. Who does the calculations? HMRC does all the calculations needed for the claim using information submitted on your previous tax returns. Taxpayers do not have to provide any figures at all as part of the process. It's a simple yes or no exercise as you go through the form. And now we're into day 3 of being able to apply. In the first 24 hours, there were 440,000 grant applications totaling £1.3 billion. And on an average lump sum payment basis, it was less than £3,000. So there's quite a lot less than the total £7,500 for the vast majority of applicants. The Dairy Hardship Fund. This is obviously a £10,000 grant available to cover up to 70% of lost income in April and May. Now, there had been a lot of pressure from government or from farmers on government due to the issues with the likes of Freshways, where they're asking farmers to dump milk. Obviously, Starbucks, Costa, McDonald's all closed up for a period of time. And also some of our clients who supply Long Clawson producing Stilton cheese and specialty cheese have been impacted by the amount that they're receiving. Now, farmers who have lost more than 25% of their income due to coronavirus will be eligible to claim. An application process will follow. Clearly, there's some unhappy farmers out there, such as arable farmers who were affected in the autumn with bad weather and flooding earlier this year. And similarly, beef farmers are also missing out on this occasion. The loans available, we'll take a look at 2 loans available to the majority of farmers. The first one being the Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan, CBILS. This is for finance up to £5 million for a period of 6 years for loans and asset finance facilities, and 3 years for overdrafts and invoice finance businesses. Obviously, there'll be a few farming businesses applicable. The CBILS loan is guaranteed, 80% guaranteed by the government, and the first 12 months will be interest and fees will be paid for by the government. Now, to obtain this loan, you'll have to apply to bank and provide management accounts, cash flow forecast, business plan, historical accounts and asset details. The bank will check if the loan is suitable, affordable and the right type of finance for you. Now, the little brother to the Sybil's loan is the bounce back loan, and this is where you can borrow between £2,000 and £50,000 at 2.5% for 6 years. Now, in the first 12 months of this loan, there'll be no repayments and no interest, and the government actually will guarantee the whole of the amount borrowed. The key differences in the two loans is this loan is actually an online application form, very quick application process, and hopefully you'll get the money very quickly. Support for directors. Now, or lack of support available to directors, there's very little available. If a director pays themselves a salary, then there is the job retention support scheme or the furlough scheme if they are not working. This is where you can claim up to 80% of your monthly salary. Now, in most scenarios of limited companies, directors will hopefully pay themselves a low salary at the national insurance threshold, which is £9,500 this tax year, and then thereafter pay dividends at basic rate 7.5% up to £50,000, and then at higher rate 32.5%. Now, most of our farming limited company clients will largely be unaffected by the job retention support scheme, as most will hopefully be operating as a partnership and a limited company alongside. So for those limited companies that are affected, really the only support available is to actually apply for a loan. And the only examples over the last 8 weeks from speaking to clients is actually farming limited companies with, say, elderly parents in the business, perhaps having to shield themselves and not do day-to-day farming activities. It may be an opportunity to actually furlough those members of staff and then claim the 80% of their salary. So they're actually effectively paid 80% of their salary by the government. Now, government support is a lifeline for many, but really the very first options we've been recommending to clients is to claim the grants. This is obviously the Dairy Hardship Fund and the Self-Employed Scheme, as these are not repayable, and to claim those first before resorting to loans which are repayable, obviously interest-free and repayment-free for the first 12 months, but thereafter obviously there will be repayments made and can actually perhaps impact you later down the line. And when you think about it, if you're a dairy business with 4 partners, you could get 40 grand lump sum straight away without having to borrow any money. Now, the Dairy Hardship Fund will be shown as a partnership income line on the profit and loss, similar to subsidies that you receive. However, and then the self-employed scheme is taxable on the individual tax returns, so will be added back on your accounts. For some businesses, this coronavirus has actually had the opposite effect for them, and actually they've made huge gains. A client I spoke to earlier this week who operates a grain storage business has actually seen an upturn in the demand and the price they're actually getting paid for the storage, as millers who like to store grain for 12 months just can't find enough storage available. So he's actually getting at least 30 grand worth more income over the next 6 months, and is actually thinking of expanding his storage. So there are some winners out there just at the moment. Scenario planning. Using scenario planning will really help your business prepare for the potentially bumpy road ahead. Together with a financial plan, your business can continue to be successful. So we've teamed up with Figured, who are an online farm financial management software provider, and are offering 2 months free access until the end of June to their scenario and planning tool. At the click of a button, it will be possible to produce a financial management plan based on your scenarios tailored to your individual business. For example, we've helped a client understand the impact of reduction in subsidies and what they can actually do to boost their cash flow. Another scenario may be to look at the impact of reducing milk volumes by, say, 5%, or reducing 30% of your milk volume to the spot milk price. Now, you may have heard Figured only works with Xero. However, for the scenario and planning tool, there are no software specifications, and only a copy of your trial balance from your bookkeeping software and a copy of your latest accounts are required. If anyone's keen to find out more, obviously please do message me at the end of the session. Research and development. In these current challenging times, it may be an opportunity to raise additional income, and some farming limited companies may be able to actually claim research and development tax relief on any sort of investment in staff time, director time, materials in a way to improve or develop a system. Now, for example, some example work that could apply for R&D tax relief includes the following: development of new breeding techniques, improving farming techniques to increase efficiency and yield, or investigating the viability of a new hoof care foot bath system. Claims can be made backdated for up to 2 years, and actually successful claims are generally paid out within 28 days. And at Howard Worth, we've got a specialist team to deal with these claims. So if anybody has any contacts or people that would be interested in this, then please, we can pass on your details to those. What's next? It's an ever-changing world. Farmers need that specialist advice, and we're here to help. We're proactive accountants and are at the cutting edge of tax changes and offer farmers the specialist advice due to our connections with the UK 200 group and other professional contacts in the industry, so we can really be there at the cutting edge. So that brings us to the end of the slides. If everybody could open up their microphone now. If you've not already submitted your questions, then we'll now give you a few moments now to do so while we just talk about what we've been doing at Howard Worth over the last 8 weeks. And if Richard and Andrew want to chip in at the end, that will be really great. So it's very much business as usual. All staff are working from home. All of our IT systems are hosted, securely enabling us to log on from anywhere. The marketing team have been very busy over the last 8 weeks and published over 110 articles for all sorts of businesses on our website and on our coronavirus business support hub. For farming and rural businesses, it's been pretty much business as normal, and we've been dealing with a number of queries over the last 8 weeks, and also as March year-end starts to roll in now as well, so keeping us busy. Richard, would you like to come in and say something?
Yes, thanks, Mike. Yeah, I think the biggest part of our work over the last few weeks has obviously been on the claims awareness and preparing for the self-employed portal and claims that went live earlier this week. A lot of work being done on funding, both within the agricultural team and the corporate team as well, and the new bounce back loans we're really welcome in that respect. The speed and the ease that you can make these claims has been most welcome for some of those dairy farmers, particularly hard impacted. Cash flows and business appraisals have been revised, and Mike mentioned the figured solutions that we have there. The website, I have to say, looking round a number of websites, I think Dawn has done an excellent job there in getting information on there in a way that you can easily find as well. So if you've not looked at that, I'd encourage you to do so. Emails going out regularly to clients, and then in the farming team working with the NFU and the RABDF to help them in their attempts to lobby government about the problems, particularly in the dairy industry, but other sectors as well, and some of the results that we've seen from that. Great
to hear. Andrew, would you like to add some more in, perhaps on the loans and research and development, possibly?
Yes, I mean, the other thing we've been doing a lot, recently is also making sure we're catching up with all of the other rural professionals, bankers, such like, while we've been working from home as well. So we've been touching base with the bank managers and seeing and hearing their experiences. It is interesting to hear about the bounce back loans. I know a number of people are seeing them as in some cases, an opportunity to refinance more expensive sources of finance. And perhaps pay off something else that's costing more money because the interest rates are particularly attractive. But in some cases, they are just being taken out to support the business on an ongoing basis. You do have to think about what effect that would have in 12, 18 months when you perhaps need to approach your bank manager for funding for another project that you have down the line as well. So bear that in mind about your affordability criteria. future loans when you're looking at these bounce back loans and civil loans. But that's just something to bear in mind. And as Richard says, we have been working with other organisations quite closely, and including the UK 200 group, about lobbying for support for limited company directors as well. And I know there's a lot of people very unhappy about the situation they've been put in as a director, just taking the majority of their earnings by dividends. So that's something that we've been working with a number of organisations, including UK 200 group, with on that matter.
Very good. I think the key thing there really is to check out our website for all the support available, and for those businesses that are perhaps considering loans, yes, there might be great interest rates, but obviously is to make sure do the affordability calculations and perhaps speak to your bank manager before you're applying for those loans. So hopefully, Dawn, we've got a couple of questions come through.
Yes, we have. So thank you very much for everybody that's been submitting questions. Right, okay, so I'll pick a couple of them up now. So we have had one through, we'll go to Ed Brown first. So Ed has asked, how can we apply for the Dairy Hardship Fund?
So I'll take that question. The Dairy Hardship Fund, at the moment, we've not seen anything else published anywhere on the internet to do with actually how you apply for the Dairy Hardship Fund. We're still awaiting details. We expect it's perhaps going to look like other grants and things that we've seen before for farmers, and potentially have to submit figures of how you've impacted, perhaps your milk statements showing that your income's been hammered in April and May. So as we hear more about it, we'll publish something on our website and also email all of our clients and contacts.
Yeah, if I just come in on that, Mike, but my understanding is it's 70% up to 70% of the lost income in April and May. So just a sort of logical interpretation would be that it would be into June before applications can be made. So the point when those details can be quantified. Farmers may have to wait till second, third week of June before they get milk statements and know exactly what money they have lost. I'm envisaging some form of formula where it's a combination of reduced prices and reduced volumes to arrive at the claim figure.
Thanks, Richard.
One thing on that, though, I would say about the revenue has been extremely good in terms of getting these applications for these other grant fundings open. So hopefully it'll be as efficient as they have made it for these other schemes as well. So I think we do have to give a bit of credit for the revenue for these other applications for the other funds. So
great. Dawn, have we got some more questions?
Okay, yeah, we have. Right. Okay, so this one is regarding the SEISF grant. And the question is, it was originally advertised as being available only if the average of your last 3 years' profit was below 50k. It now seems that as long as last year was below 50k, you are still eligible if previous years were higher. And somebody's asking, is that correct?
I think I'll pick that one up as well. I think certainly the criteria is in 2019 that your income needs to be below £50,000. Obviously, in the previous years, it needs to be below 50 as well. So I think that hopefully answers that one. I don't think there's anybody else got anything else to chip in on that. No.
I think, Mike, there's possibly some confusion over the newly self-employed and their criteria, that there's only 1 year that needs to be taken into account. So we could come back on that, but it is a little bit confusing, and it is to pick up the people that were self-employed in the 18-19 year, but not prior to that.
Yeah, I suppose that's one of the criticisms of the grant, really. It's for those that perhaps are newly self-employed actually miss out altogether. So thanks, Richard. Dawn, have we got some more questions?
Yeah, we have. Okay, some of these are coming through anonymous, but if you just want to pop your name on it, that would be really helpful. Thank you. Right, so the next one, this is regarding furlough. So they understand that furlough has been extended until October. Will the self-employment scheme be extended?
Who wants to come in on that one?
I was going to say on that one, you're quite right. There's been no news on it at the moment. There's been nothing announced on that being extended. So it's unfortunate at the moment. It is what it is. Undoubtedly, things are changing all the time, however. So I think it's a question of watching this space at the moment.
I think if anybody was watching Martin Lewis last night, I think his view is it's probably 50-50 whether the self-employed scheme will get extended or not. But hopefully we don't all believe everything Martin Lewis says. And hopefully for our clients that it will be extended.
Yeah. Mike, just an observation. The furlough scheme has been extended, but with the caveat there's going to be a number of changes to it. That might be on the percentage that the government will be support, or it may be targeted to specific sectors. So I suspect that the self-employed, again, it might be that support remains for, let's say, the hospitality industry that perhaps isn't able to open up on that, but possibly farming might be excluded from further claims, or have the proportion reduced as well.
So yeah, we'll just wait until we get more information on that, won't we? And then obviously as soon as it's clarified, we'll send it out as we have been doing.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Right. Next question. Is there a deadline for applying for the self-employed scheme? Who'd like to take that one?
So I'll take that one if either Andrew or Richard do. I think at the moment there's no actual deadline at all to apply for the grants. It's only gone live this week, so there'll be some time before they close the application process. Obviously, the government want to make sure that everybody that is affected has opportunity to apply for the grants that are available to them. And obviously, there might take some people some time to get themselves activated and are actually able to make the application, and also for those that can't or don't have access to a computer as well. So obviously they'll have to make a paper form, and also those that have to have their cases reviewed by HMRC as well. So there's no deadline at this stage.
Yeah, as Mike says, no deadline stated at the moment. It is something that we are watching on a regular basis, because obviously missing a deadline would be criminal for us, and would certainly be making clients aware if and when a deadline is stated.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, the next question is regarding proof. So the question is, how do you prove that you are adversely affected by coronavirus, and how do you do that? Who'd like to take that question, please?
Richard, do you want to come in on that one?
Yes. Well, there's that old question about you ask the accountant what your profit is, and the accountant says, what do you want it to be? So there's a whole raft of things that you can say have impacted you on the coronavirus. The one word that is missing from the government website on it is the word materiality. So does that mean that if you've been impacted by as little as £1, you can make a claim? And that's something that that seems to be silent there. But it could be anything from losing a staff member for a day or so's work, because he had to go and childmind because his wife might have been a key worker, and he had to employ somebody just to cover that day's work, even something like that. But the vast majority, I think, at somewhere will have been affected by either milk prices, supply line difficulties, getting products in, extra costs that have been incurred, just the management of staff, the paperwork and the processes that all businesses are now having to go through is certainly time consuming and will have impacted our farming clients.
I think the other key thing to just add to that, Richard, is actually to make sure that all individuals keep a record of how they're actually affected. I think we've already talked a little bit already about keeping your milk statements and things, but in any which way you're affected is to keep some form of record that if HMRC ever came back and looked, that you could prove that you were eligible at the time and adversely affected. Because in the actual application process, it's a simple yes or no answer. You don't need to submit figures, you don't need to do anything. So the key thing is to keep records. Okay, Dawn.
Okay, yeah, next question. So this one, it's been asked as a question and now it's been dismissed. So I don't know if that's somebody who didn't want it as answering now, but I'm going to raise it anyway. So it's a question from John Smith and it's regarding the annual investment allowance. And just could we give an explanation of how it works, please?
I think that question is actually a dummy one. I was testing out the system, to be honest, but I will just cover it anyway. hopefully everybody's aware of how the the annual investment allowance works. Obviously, you get 100% write-off in that first year of your purchase. The challenge that we try and explain to our clients is that when they come to sell the asset 3 or 4 years down the line.
Mike, you still there?
Oh, I think Mike's frozen.
Can you hear me, Dawn?
Mike, you back?
Well,
I'm back now, sorry.
Yeah, right, okay. Just a little glitch there, everybody, but we're back now. Right, okay. Just this last question then, if that's okay.
Dawn, does Mike want to finish that, or I can just add a point in if you like?
Okay.
Is that me?
Go
or
on, Richard.
Yeah.
Go on,
yeah.
Richard.
It's just perhaps where the annual investment allowance is relevant to the self-employed grant. The grants are paid on the taxable profit, which is after the claims that taxpayers make for capital allowances, which is where the annual investment allowance is done. So we'll be talking to clients about reducing tax, so they go out before the end of the year and buy some equipment. That reduces their taxable profit, and it's the taxable profit that's relevant to the self-employed coronavirus claim. So it does have impacts there on those potential grants.
Thanks, Richard. Dawn, have we got some more questions?
Okay. Yeah. So this one is regarding paying tax on account in July. So somebody's asked, I think that I'm due to pay tax in July, but what do I do if I'm unable to pay it?
So
go on, who wants to take that one?
I'll answer that one quickly.
On,
at the moment, there's been a number of deferral schemes been announced automatically. There's been a VAT deferral scheme, and also your payment on account in July also has been deferred until January next year, basically. And this is an automatic deferral that you can just take advantage of. You don't need to apply for it. It's just something that is automatically there, albeit that a number of people that I'm speaking to are still deciding that they can afford to pay their payment on accounts. So we'll make it in July, given that then they're going to have a larger payment to make January if they do take advantage of that automatic deferral.
Thanks, Andrew.
Okay.
Okay, so we've come to the end of the questions that have been asked on the session, but can I just throw it open to the three of you to just say, what are your thoughts on the agricultural industry in the future? With everything that's going on at the moment, what do you think is going to be happening in the future?
Who wants to kick off?
Do you want me to start on?
Go on, Richard.
On that one? I've sort of been giving my thoughts to future, but not only the agricultural industry, but the world. We hear the phrase new normal now, and I think we're going to see some sort of cultural change now in terms of working from home, not necessarily relevant to our farming clients, but the opportunities to avoid traffic congestion and the green message that's increasing these days. And I think a number of staff are going to want to have a day a week, 2 days a week of the work from home. Perhaps relevant to farming through this coronavirus is the buy British and buy local message that's been coming out. And particularly around here in Cheshire, we've seen the emergence of the Bidley Dairy and the Holton Farms Dairy supplying milk direct into different supplies, adding their milk rounds and so on. And that's been really pleasing to see. And I just hope that that can continue post the lockdown. We've got the agricultural bill passing through Parliament now. I just hope that food security is a lot higher up the agenda than perhaps it's previously been. We've seen empty shelves in supermarkets, and the government, I hope, will get the message of the importance of agriculture. And of course, Brexit's gone quiet, but discussions are still going on with Europe and Brussels at the moment. And hopefully that trade deal recognises the importance of agriculture, and when we start talking with America that our farmers are protected. We hear about the coronated chicken and so on. Perhaps I should flag up one issue to look at is the government at some point has got to start thinking about paying down the debt that's being incurred. With the low interest rates at the moment, cost of borrowing is going to be quite modest. But I'm flagging up that agricultural property relief is certainly something that I think the government will be looking at in future years. So we certainly as a practice will be talking to clients about estate planning as we get back to seeing our clients later in the year in advance of things that might happen. I'm not suggesting agricultural property relief will be abolished, but we might see the percentage of relief available reduced, or we may see it capped at some levels on that might impact on the particularly larger farms or estates. So I flagged that up, and one that we're certainly going to be talking to clients as we get later on into the year. Andrew, would you want to come in and add some more?
Yeah, I think Richard summarised some issues really succinctly there. So I think a key for me going forward, probably over the 6 to 9 to 12 months also, is going to be how quickly us as consumers get back out there into the world again. How quickly is that hospitality industry going to be opening up, and how are they going to be doing that? Because certainly there has been a number of sectors there hit in the agricultural side. You know, we've seen it with Costa and Starbucks, we've already mentioned that, but also potatoes as well, with people buying fast foods and going to restaurants. So, you know, that has been another area that has hit the agricultural sector. So it's about how quickly those establishments can make their customers feel secure and confident again in terms of enticing us to go and eat out and spend money and get that sector up and running as quickly as possible. So I think that's an important thing that needs addressing as well in the future. But it's going to be a difficult time for them. Looking on things at the moment, I think everybody's probably busy out, you know, silaging at the moment. The weather is brilliant. You know, on the short term, probably we need some rain soon as well. So that's another thing we're looking for. Yeah. Anyway, that's me. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Andrew.
Okay, Mike, that's the end of the Q&A. Thank you very much for all your input, the three of you. Very much appreciated. Do you want to just do a little sum up, Mike?
Yeah, hopefully my video doesn't disappear this time. Yeah, I'd just like to obviously, thank Andrew and Richard for their contributions, and yourself, Dawn, this morning. Hopefully everybody that's listening in has found it useful. It'd be great to hear some feedback, and we'll send a feedback email around. It is all being recorded this morning, so if anybody wants to share this with any of the contacts, it will be on our website after this morning, and you'll be able to watch for as long as you like. And just thank you for everybody attending, and thanks for listening. Thank you very much. And just stay in tune with our website. We'll be in touch with you with more support in due course. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.